they're going to be smelling tons of different animals. So we like to recreate those experiences here at the zoo. So you're going to notice we have 4 dogs on the habitat currently. That is our full pack. We have Moto, Wiki, Tamu, and Rafiki. And these guys are extremely social animals. They have a really strong social bond, and so they also have a social hierarchy. So that hierarchy is actually going to fluctuate. Here in our pack, every single one of our dogs has held the top dog slot at one point in their time here at the zoo. So currently, Moto, this dog you see right up front, is our dominant dog. So he is kind of the one who's going to put the other dogs in their place. Then we've also got Rafiki and Wiki, who kind of play that middle ground, who might come out and, try and assert their dominance over Moto from time to time. And then we've got Tamu, who is currently the lowest ranking, which is pretty ironic because he was actually the highest ranking when he first got here to the zoo. So a lot of the behaviors you're going to see within our dog pack are those dominance behaviors. That's kind of how they bond with each other. You're going to see them pawing each other. You're going to see them mounting each other. You're going to see them kind of wrestling and submitting by rolling over on the ground. So these are all ways that they are communicating with each other. Our dogs not only communicate via their vocals, like those squeaks I mentioned before, but they're also going to communicate a lot through their body language. So their body posture, their ear posture, their tail posture, whether it is submissive or dominant, these guys are very great communicators. And like I said, they're very socially bonded. So one really cool thing about African painted dog packs in the wild is that it's actually known that if one of the dogs gets sick or injured, that pack will actually rally behind that dog. So they are very strongly bonded to one another. Now typically the packs in the wild are actually going to be run by females. So here at Houston we currently don't have any females. But a really cool fun fact is that we actually used to have dogs here at the Houston Zoo. So we got these dogs in about a year ago, and what is really awesome is that their mom, Ghost, was actually one of the dogs who was previously here at Houston Zoo. So she was sent off to Binder Park Zoo for a breeding recommendation, produced these beautiful young boys, and now they are back here at Houston Zoo representing African painted dogs for you guys. So we are extremely excited to have them back. These young boys are very, very fun to watch and interact with. They're extremely intelligent and very playful. You can see them messing with all of these different items out here. And so we're just really excited to have them back. Now, if you come to the zoo, an easy way to be able to identify these guys is their spots, their markings. So just like any human fingerprint, these guys are going to have different markings, and that's how we actually identify them. So this dog up front rolling on this root ball, that is Rafiki. He's going to have the most white across his back. And we've got a couple other spot markings on the other dogs as well. So right now we are currently in front of our African painted dog habitat. So we are celebrating these African painted dogs for African Painted Dog Day, which is actually tomorrow. And you might also know these animals as African wild dogs or African painted dogs, and they also can be known as African hunting dogs. So there's a lot of different names for these guys, but in the wild they can exist in packs from only 2 individuals to up to 30 dogs. And like I mentioned before, those packs are typically run by the females. They do have an alpha male and an alpha female, but that female is always going to call the shots. So here at Houston, like I mentioned before, they're definitely going to assert that dominance over one another through those interactions. And what we've been working on to solidify our pack bonds is group feeding and enrichment like this to promote them to work together, to take down food just like they would in the wild, and that's going to promote those really strong social bonds. So what you see on exhibit as far as enrichment, we've got a ton of log towers. These were all moved around just for today. We've got some hanging logs on the zip line. We've got a ton of mulberry browse. So these dogs are just like your dogs at home. They love to carry around sticks. So I'm sure that they're going to carry those around later. We've also got some enrichment from our other departments here at the zoo. So through our enrichment program, we're able to cooperate with different teams. So we have some fish from sea lion department, and we've got some feces from our rhino department. Like I said, these dogs are very scent oriented, so that's something that's really novel for them. And as you can see, they love rolling around in the different smells and spreading their scent all around the habitat. So I mentioned before, these dogs are extremely smart. So we do a lot of training with our African painted dogs. And like I said, they really enjoy it. Each of these dogs has very different personality. Tamu, our lowest ranking dog, is actually the most keeper oriented. He loves training session. He gets very excited. Sometimes you can even see him hopping around behind the scenes. Whereas Wiki, he is a lot more laid back. He's gonna be our calmest dog. And then Rafiki, he has always got something to say. He's a very vocal guy, and he's gonna kind of wanna be in everyone's business, always wants to know what's going on. And like I said, Moto is going to be the top dog. So he is going to be kind of asserting his dominance over the pack at all times. Now, they do have that dominance hierarchy, but they do love spending time together. Like I said, these guys are very socially bonded animals. So you're gonna see them napping together, you're gonna see them working for food together, and that is exactly how we promote those strong social bonds for our pack here at the zoo. So it's really awesome that we got our dogs back. Here at Houston, we actually partner with Painted Dog Conservation, and back in 2017, we were able to help create some tracking collars to be placed on African painted dogs in the wild. And those tracking collars do a lot to help save these guys. They're actually reflective, so they prevent those dogs from getting hit by cars. They're used to track the different African painted dog packs across their ranges. And they also have special clips on them that help protect them from snare wire, which is unfortunately a huge threat to African painted dogs. Some of their main threats in the wild are poaching, habitat fragmentation, and those snare wires and things like that. And so we're really excited that we got to partner with Painted Dog Conservation and help put into use those awesome tracking collars to help protect these guys in the wild. So this is again Rafiki. You can tell he's got a lot of white on his back. And so we're gonna see different spots on each one of these dogs. Like I said, they're gonna have very different personalities. And sometimes you're gonna see animals that are more likely to come up. So Tamu and Rafiki tend to be the animals that are more likely to come up. Wiki and Moto, maybe not so much. But you're gonna see them resting. These guys are native to Africa, and unfortunately they are the second most endangered carnivore in Africa. And so we are, like I mentioned before, super excited that we get to partner with Painted Dog Conservation and help save these guys in the wild. So again, you're gonna see that personality come out. These guys use those ears to kind of display those different body postures and help communicate with one another. And another cool thing about those ears is that they actually help keep them cool. So they will help dissipate that heat and keep them cool in those hot African summers. Now here at the zoo, they get fed a ground meat diet that's made especially for canines. They get fed that every single day, as well as whole crate items like rabbits and rats. They really enjoy those, as well as bones once a week. Now in the wild, these guys are gonna take down small to medium-sized antelope species, but they've also been known to take down really large species such as wildebeest and buffalo. So they use that pack mentality to take down those large animals, and they're also endurance hunters. So they are going to use that endurance to wear out their prey before taking them down in the wild. And you'll see, if you've ever seen our dogs have some fun enrichment, we will sometimes hang carcasses up on our zip line here, and that's another great way to promote those social bonds with them. And so they'll use each other to come back and get that carcass all the way down so they can feed as much as they want. And it's an awesome sight to see how athletic these guys are. They can jump very well, they're super quick. So DJ asks, are they related to hyenas? That's a great question. They do look somewhat similar, but hyenas are actually more closely related to cats, whereas these African painted dogs share ancestors with jackals and wolves, and even your domestic dogs. So these are gonna act more like a canine species versus those hyenas that are gonna act slightly more like a feline species, while they do look very similar. So you see these guys are resting over on the back wall. That's actually one of their favorite places to be on this habitat. We've got a mister set up for them to keep them cool. You'll also notice that they have a pool in this habitat. They love splashing around in that pool, keeping cool in these hot summers, and they love lounging in the shade. So if you ever come visit the zoo and are looking for our dogs, that wall is a great place to look for them. They spend a lot of time there, as well as underneath that gazebo to stay in that shade while they take breaks from being really active. These guys are going to be most active in the morning and in the evening, dawn and dusk. That's exactly when they would do the majority of their hunting in the wild as well. So maybe a lot of the time that you're here, they're going to be resting, storing up that energy like they would in the wild for those morning and evening hunts. Now we can feed these guys throughout the day, so sometimes you'll get to see meatball scatters or bone tosses to get them up and moving and give them something novel. Like I mentioned before, enrichment is really important for these guys. So we love to give them new things every single day. And we try and elicit natural behaviors. So some of these things that are out here are gonna elicit things like jumping or scent rubbing or scent marking, even rolling. So we like to elicit all of those behaviors that we'd see in the wild while they are here at the zoo. So you can see some of them get a little bit more interested. This is Moto here. He's just kind of taking a look at all the stuff that maybe he missed out on earlier in the excitement. So they love to come back to different things throughout the day. So they're going to use up that energy, maybe take a break, and then come back and play hard again. You can see him pulling on that browse like I mentioned. They love to play tug of war. You'll see each other pulling on different ends of the browse and trying to rip it and shred it, just like they did with those boxes. So that's one of the main ways that they love to play. So I mentioned before we do some training with these guys. They are extremely smart, and they definitely can be a challenge to work with because they are so smart. So as trainers, we have to be really cognizant of body movement. These guys are very sensitive to how we move our bodies. So we are always communicating between our animals as a trainer, and they are always communicating back to us. So it's a really important part of working with these guys is being able to read their behavior and what they're trying to communicate to you, because obviously they can't talk back and forth like we can. So as a keeper, we get to learn each one of their different personalities and kind of work with them differently according. So that's one of my favorite parts of this job, is getting to know these different animals and getting to learn how we can best make them successful. So I just want to say thank you again for tuning in. Definitely come to the zoo to celebrate African Painted Dog Day tomorrow, and we hope that you can join us next Wednesday at 11 a.m. for another Facebook Live.